Take a look at the team on the left side of your screen. Now take a look at the one on the right side of your screen. Which one of these do you think is the more expensive team? I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. If you chose the one on the left, well, you chose wrong. So today I want to talk about how there's actually more than the actual dollar amounts when it comes to assessing a team comp's overall cost. Now, I will admit that the team comps here are a little bit more intended for shock value for the intro, admittedly, more than anything, because I don't think that the team comp on the right is particularly good. However, it is comprised of all free-to-play heroes as long as you got your official during the Unreconciled Stars event. And while the left team does have 2 5-stars and a 4-star Bennett that hasn't been on banner yet, I think that it's important to look at a comp like this. A comp that a free-to-play player or someone who's looking to spend very little money on the game, they might actually look at building. But you may actually find that apart from the cost of the hero themselves, you're actually going to spend more on the team on the right, maybe just in terms of time, but in order to get the same amount of damage output. So the idea with this team on the left is that we only potentially have to level up 2 characters, and those are Diluc and Bennett. Chongyun and Venti are really just there to spread their elements. Chongyun basically is just there to press E. Basically, he just turns all of Diluc's attacks into cryo damage, so when he does all his attacks bring pyro damage, he's basically getting melt triggers off of every attack. So we don't actually need Chongyun's stats, we just need Diluc's stats. Now, Venti is there basically just to group up enemies. If you have a 4-piece veneer set on him, you can deal a lot of damage because you're getting enemies resistance down to potentially pyro. But because of this, we don't really need to focus on Chongyun or Venti leveling them up because we really just need them for either their skill or their burst, and then we can benefit off the artifact bonuses. Now, we can really spend all our time pumping energy, pumping resources into Diluc, put a little bit into Bennett, so that way we do pass off some of his attack bonuses to Diluc when we use his burst. Plus, you will need to level him up to get, extra HP regen. But the idea here overall is that it's not entirely necessary to level up several of our units. We can just max out Diluc and still hit really big damage. Now, the second team focuses more on the overload reaction, which means that we don't have the benefit of relying on a reaction like Melt with Team 1. Now, Melt, if you don't know, when it's calculated, it's going to take into consideration attack, crits, elemental mastery, elemental damage, plus you're getting a multiplier based on which direction you go. In this case, we're going cryo to pyro, so we're getting a 2x buff. So we do have to work a little bit harder on this second team because the overload reaction only scales with elemental mastery and our character level. So basically, because we can't benefit off the elemental benefits that Diluc and Chongyun can, we have to sink a little bit more resources across all our units, and it ends up being overall more expensive to get the same potential damage output that we could in the first party. So here I feel like is a more real life example, if you will, of comparing teams that have similar characters in terms of how difficult they are to get, but differ in terms of investment levels. So the first team is exactly the same. We have Diluc and Bennett, who we've invested in. We can leave Chongyun and Venti at level 1, just benefiting from their skills and burst, not necessarily their damage. Again, of course, we are suffering from overall damage loss, but that's not the point of this video. They can serve their role at level 1. The second team, however, is potentially far more expensive. Now, I'm not suggesting that this team is either good or bad. Let me just say that up front, because I'm sure someone will say that this is not a great team. It's not. But for this example purposes, we're just going to go with it. So on this team, we have 2 separate carries. We have Child and Razor. Basically, the idea here is that since Child can have a pretty long cooldown, we'll have a backup carry for when he's not able to use his melee stance. So in normal team building ideology, your carry is going to be the first unit that you invest heavily in, because this is the character that's going to be doing the maximum amount of damage, or the character that you're going to have on the field most of the time. So because of that, we want them to be as strong as possible. Now, the thing is, on this team, we have 2 of those. So now we have double the necessary investment, since basically we have 2 teams here. We have a Child Fischl Chi-Chi team, and we have a Razor Fischl Chi-Chi team. So whenever Child's on cooldown, we're taking him off the field and we're dealing with Razor as our main carry. So we have 2 carries, but we also have support units. So we have Fischl, who is our main support unit. She's basically a burst support. She's basically going to use Oz, trigger either superconduct or electric charge reactions based on whoever our carry at the time is. But both these actions are transformative. Now, if you don't know what that means, basically every reaction that comes off of Electro is transformative, which means that it's not going to scale like Melt or Vaporize would, which means that our damage is only coming from our character's level and elemental mastery, which means that for her to get the maximum amount of damage as a trigger character, we're going to have to get her level up and invest in her in order to get the max damage out of her reactions. In terms of the reactions, when it comes to Superconduct, we're actually more worried about the effect, which is reducing enemies' physical resistance for Razor. But for Electrocharge, we are going to want that damage up so we can get a little bit more AoE out of our Fischl and Child combo. Then we come to Chi-Chi, who is here as our healer. Obviously, she's also our cryo here, giving us some freezes, giving us some Superconducts. She's kind of here for basically everything. But the reason she's so expensive is that her heals scale off of her attack. And it's important to note that this isn't base attack, it's overall attack, which means that in order to maximize her heals, we got to level her up to get that scaling with ascensions and leveling. We need to focus on her weapon. Now, the higher star weapon we get, the higher base attack it's going to have, which means she's going to get more benefit from her attack percentages. We also need to focus on her feather. That's where you're going to get the most benefit in terms of artifacts. And then, you know, if you decide to put an attack piece on her, you're also going to invest in that. Although for most high level builds, I don't recommend putting an attack piece on your Chi-Chi. But what this all means is that with more levels comes more Mora. It means more Heroes Wits. It means with a higher star weapon, you're spending more on enhancement ores. You're spending more on weapon ascension materials, more Mora. Overall, she's just a more expensive character because of the stat that she scales with. Now, let's say we were to switch Chi-Chi to a Diona. And if you've been consistently watching my videos recently, you'll probably realize I've been doing a lot of testing with these two because I have been talking about this pair quite often. But I also wouldn't specifically suggest this comp either because now you have 3 bow users on a team. But again, this is just for proof of concept. So let's just move on with that. Now, Diona's heals and shields, they're going to scale with her HP, not her attack like Chi-Chi. So this means that in order to invest in her to get her heals as high as possible, we're going to need to level her up because as with leveling and ascending, she'll get bonus HP. We don't need to worry about her weapon because we don't care about her base attack and there's no bow with a substat of HP. We'll still want to level up her flower though instead of the feather like with Chi-Chi because that is going to be the main stat that we're looking for. And as we all know with artifacts, especially if you haven't gotten to AR 45 yet and started farming your 5-star artifacts, your artifacts are bound to have some trash stats on them. These usually come out to be attack, defense, and HP. And I'm sure you have artifacts with these built in. Now, if we look at our characters, you can look at any character you have currently, and my guess is that their base HP pool is going to be way higher than their base attack pool, right? It only makes sense. So when we look at the percentage numbers that we're going to find on our artifacts that are just kind of rummaging around, you're going to notice that a lot of these percents are similar. And if you know anything about percents, the bigger the pool, the bigger numbers you're getting off the percent, which means that Diona's HP percentages are going to give her more performance boosts than Chi-Chi's attack percents. Now, are there caveats to this? Yes, of course. Chi-Chi is a 5-star character and she is the best healer in the game for a reason. If you use her burst and whatever character is attacking the enemy that has a talisman on it, they will not die. But really what I'm trying to get to here eventually is that we need to compare performance between heroes with similar levels of investment. So if we take a look at 2 of my favorite supporting heroes at this moment, Bennett and Xingqiu. For mental exercise's sake, let's say we put out a maxed Skyward Blade on each of them. So they're each going to get a 608 extra attack on their base attack. That's it. Both are level 1, no talent level ups, no artifacts, nothing. That's it, just the sword. Which hero do you think would perform better? Now, this is more of a rhetorical question than anything, but it's kind of the most watered down version of what I've been talking about through this whole video that I could think of. And the reason that I bring this up is because of the current state of affairs with Zhongli. Now, people might be, sick and tired of hearing about Zhongli, but here's the point I want to get to. It's not necessarily about the character, but about the community's response to him. There seems to be more of a divide than I originally thought, especially amongst content creators. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm inciting any kind of drama because that's not my intention here. But I have seen some people pressing on about how Zhongli is a god. He does crazy high damage. His shield makes your team basically unkillable. But that's just if you look on the surface. If you look a little bit deeper, you might notice that these players, maybe they have him at level 90, maybe they have his new spear, Vortex Vanquisher, and it's either maxed out or it's high refinement, and it was essentially made just for him, so of course it's going to scale well on him. You know, he probably has like all 5-star pieces on him. They're probably all level 20, and they probably have really good substat rolls, right? Most players are not going to have access to that, especially players who are not spending, you know, hundreds of dollars on refreshes. You know, it's just not feasible. So yes, any hero with a kit like that will perform well, even Zhongli, even Amber. That's why you see these videos of Amber doing these floor 12 abyss clears by herself, because she has a bonkers kit on her. It's not just like any Amber is going to do that, right? But in my opinion, it's important to contextualize this so that players out there who might not look deep enough, they see those set of facts, and you know, they might think that a certain hero is going to perform the same way for them, where, you know, if they do end up spending money to roll on a certain character, they might get disappointed when they do get that character and realize that that character is just not going to perform the same if you don't have a high level investment on them. So make sure that when you are taking into consideration, do you want to wish for a character? How much investment is it actually going to take for that character? When you're comparing team comps, you know, how expensive is that team going to be in terms of resources? Basically, what this all comes down to is that every hero is going to need some kind of investment if you want to improve their damage. However, there are some heroes who need more investment than others in order to do their job either equally or of some equal performance. And I think it's incredibly important, especially for those who find that they're spending very little on this game, to take those differences into account, especially when it comes to resin refreshes, because your resources are extremely valuable. So just like you would scour the internet if you're going to buy a computer or a new phone or a car, you're going to want to know how to get the most performance out of your dollar, and that's no different here with your heroes. So while I'm not intending for this video to be, you know, telling you guys which heroes are best to invest in, which ones are cheaper than others, which team comps are cheaper than others, I do hope that this acts as kind of like a PSA for you guys who are pinching your pennies, making sure you get the most value out of all your resources. Take a look when you see a video. Make sure that there is some context there. You know, do you have someone who's spending thousands and thousands of dollars or even hundreds and hundreds of dollars on this game and they're saying it's good, versus people who aren't spending any money on the game? Did they think these characters are good? Or somewhere in the middle, you know, what does it take to make this character, whatever character it may be, perform to the level that you need them to? And maybe, you know, that's just, you just want a character who can throw fire around. In that case, if you're that kind of player, it doesn't really matter. But if you are someone who's trying to, you know, clear end game content, you're trying actively to push forward in the game, to do the most damage that you can, to level up your heroes, and to make the best investment possible, all I'm saying is take those things into consideration. But guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy and this video was beneficial to you. That's of course the goal with all these videos here on this channel. If you like the content and you want to see some more from me, you can head over to my Twitch page, twitch.tv/xjazze. Give us a follow over there, or you can support us right here on YouTube. Click that red subscribe button, like the video if you liked it, hit that notification bell, that way you never miss a video. And if you want to join the community over on Discord, links down in the description. But guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.